Uh-oh.
Okay, we'll start with this. More information on former WBA champion Shannon Courtenay's ring return this weekend. To my surprise, she's fighting at bantamweight. She's staying at 118 pounds. I didn't think she would. I thought after close to 2 years of inactivity, she might come back as a super bantam, maybe even a feather.
Next fight is scheduled for 4 rounds in the bantamweight division, where she once held the title.
She'll be facing Catherine Ramos of Brazil. Nondescript opponent with a professional record of 4 wins with 3 losses, 1 draw, coming right off a loss to East LA zone Adelaida Ruiz earlier this year.
21 years old to Shannon Courtenay, who's 10 years older at 31.
Sporting a professional record of 8 wins with 2 losses, no draws, 3 knockouts. A solid boxer, a former champion with a quality right hand. It's one of Shannon Courtenay's strengths, that backhand.
So she's staying at bantamweight, huh?
It's not my imagination that Shannon Courtenay has wrestled with making 118 pounds. I remember she blew the weight once.
She missed it.
Why not 122? Why not 126? Surely, for a fighter who's been out for close to 2 years, those would have been easier weights to make. Why 118?
Why Boxer?
So Boxer didn't announce signing Shannon Courtenay per se. They didn't officially say they're going to be working with her moving forward, but she didn't end up on this card by accident.
Neither did Anthony Yard.
Know what time it is. You know what Ben is up to. He fancies Frank's fighters and Eddie's fighters, one of his former fighters, because it's my understanding that Shannon Courtenay's relationship with Matchroom is over.
Done.
So when she ends up on a Boxer show, that's not by accident, that's by design. What Ben is doing is trying to funnel familiar faces and familiar fighters over to Boxer that the British boxing public is already familiar with to spruce up his cards. That's what he's doing.
If Shannon takes care of business, I anticipate that won't be the last time we see her boxing on one of Ben's shows.
Matchroom has more or less withdrawn from the bantamweight division, 118 pounds, where they once had 2 separate champions in Ebony Bridges and Nina Hughes. They ain't got a horse in a race now. They don't have a pony in that bantamweight show.
When Ebony Bridges lost the IBF title to Miyo Yoshida, that heralded the end of Matchroom's stake in the bantamweight division. And so there are 3 other champions there, none of which are with a major promotional outfit. But if Shannon gets in good with Boxer,
she will be one of the few fighters at this weight that has a major promotional outfit behind her. Major, at least, in the United Kingdom, and good enough to make things happen.
I don't think Ben got her a slot on this card out of the kindness of his heart. He needs fighters, familiar ones.
She needs opportunities. She needs promotion. This is all about getting the ball rolling for Shannon Courtenay before this year is out, so that next year she can possibly fight for a title. The last time she saw action was in December of 2022. We're close to December of 2024.
2 months shy of 2 years.
In a little over a week's time, Miyo Yoshida will be defending her IBF title against Sharita Metcalf in what is their rematch. Sharita won the first fight. Miyo's trying to win the second so that she can keep the belt.
Irrespective of who wins,
I have a sneaking suspicion that Shannon Courtenay might have her eyes on the winner of that fight and the blue belt, as that is the most winnable belt in the division.
Dina Dorsland's too dangerous.
In a manner of speaking, so is Shernika Johnson. She's got more pro experience across more divisions than Shannon Courtenay and more fights.
Whereas Miyo or Sharita,
getting the winner of their fight in the ring, whoever it is, may not be as difficult, may not be as expensive, since neither of those two fighters make all that much money anyway.
Shannon just needs a maintenance fight first. A comeback fight.
She's getting that on the undercard of Akhmadaliev versus Ohara Davies. She's getting that comeback fight. Maybe she'll get another on another boxer show before challenging the winner of that fight for the IBF title.
Wasn't she supposed to be fighting in that 8-woman tournament promoted by Lou DiBella?
Well, I told you. I think Lou DiBella means well, but until he can get financial backing for that 8-woman tournament, it's not going to get off the ground. And if Shannon Courtenay is now boxing on a boxer show...
What does that tell you?
Not against it. I'm just saying. I wasn't sure whether or not Lou would be able to make that happen, and it doesn't look like he has.
Nope.
So it just is what it is. Shannon Courtenay was once WBA champion at this weight, and she hasn't given up on her quest back to a world title. She may be on the boxer side of things now, moving forward, and we'll see if she can help to liven things up at 118 pounds.
Look for the ring return of Shannon Courtenay on the undercard of Akhmadaliev versus Ohara Davies.
And super bantamweight news per a tweet from Lance Pugmire, the IBF has scheduled an Inoue versus Sam Goodman purse bid for October 29th after announcing today that an agreement could not be reached for the junior bantamweight title defense by the undisputed Inoue. Jake Donovan tweets, Naoya Inoue will reportedly next fight on Christmas Eve in Tokyo. The assumption was that it would come against Sam Goodman, the unbeaten IBF mandatory challenger. They will have to settle matters to avoid an October 29th purse bid hearing to proceed.
Sam doesn't want this fight.
Sam, who was there when Inoue stopped Marlon Tapales, it was either Marlon Tapales or Luis Neri, one of them, and he demanded that Inoue give him his shot just to schedule himself a stay busy fight in July.
A lot of showmanship.
And as a result of that, Inoue ended up staying busy with TJ Haney, contest that came to a peculiar end. So now that all of these stay busy fights have been cleared, we're seeing more issues, more problems. Apparently they're struggling to reach a deal. Bear in mind that Inoue didn't struggle to reach a deal with Stephen Fulton, or Marlon Tapales, or Luis Neri, or TJ Haney. It's not until he lands on this guy.
It's when the problems start.
But that's not all, folks. According to Dake Jonovan, it looks like the lawsuit heads are now prepared to go to war with the purse bid heads, told that Mudajan Akhmadaliev's reps have officially filed a complaint objecting to being passed over in sanctioning body mandatory rotation. Argument is that WBA was due before IBF.
Who's the WBA mandatory?
Former unified champion Mudajan Akhmadaliev, who lost his 2 alphabet titles to Marlon Tapales, who then lost them to Naoya Inoue.
Is that accurate? Was the WBA's mandatory due before the IBF's?
I'm not sure, but it doesn't look like it. You see, Sam Goodman became the IBF's mandatory challenger in June of last year when he beat Rees Salim, whereas Mudajan doesn't become the WBA's mandatory until some months later in December. So based on the rotation, the IBF mandatory is supposed to come first. Sam Goodman was in position before Mudajan.
Before Mudajan Akhmadaliev had that fight in December, that rebound fight in December, he had lost to Marlon Tapales earlier in the year.
Comes back in December, gets back in the winner's bracket. He hasn't fought this year yet. His manager, Vadim Kornilov, says they don't want to fight their mandatories. Now they're not even wanting to pay hand-picked opponents, which are obviously accepting the fight for the payday only. Send Akhmadaliev the offer that was sent to Goodman, and we will make every effort to accept it as it is.
Easier said than done. If he skips Sam and moves over to you, it's going to cost him the IBF title.
So this is why the MJ stuff gets on my nerves.
Sam Goodman was already in the queue before you.
You don't become the mandatory challenger to the WBA title until December of last year, the same month that Inoue beat Marlon Tapales. At this time, Sam is already in the queue, and you have to wait.
WBC had a mandatory in the queue in Luis Neri. The IBF had a mandatory in the queue in Sam Goodman, and you come last.
Underneath it all, I think MJ and Vadim Kornilov know that, but they have to sell this guy somehow, so attaching his name to Inoue because he is his mandatory challenger. That's one way to go about doing that, but it's disingenuous.
Because you ain't next in the rotation.
So what have you been bellyaching about all these weeks and all these months? You're not next. You have to wait. Fight somebody else. We are 10 months into this year, and Mutajan has yet to fight.
What are you waiting for?
Inoue. They're waiting for Inoue. The problem is, you ain't next. You either don't understand that or don't want to, so you're throwing your toys out of the pram. I get the sense that Sam doesn't really like his chances in this fight, so he's haggling for more money, the most that he can hope to make. He must feel that he can get more than what Inoue's people are offering.
How?
The purse bid. So they must have it in their head that if the fight goes to a purse bid, perhaps No Limit can step in and make a play for the fight. Will No Limit put up more money for that fight than Inoue's people will?
Or will somebody else?
If the fight goes to a purse bid, anybody can bid. It's not just Inoue's people and Sam's people. His Excellency, Mr. Turkey El Sheikh, he can make a play for the fight. And you know, he's got more money than the both of them.
He's got that Fury versus Usyk fight coming up.
They announced the card, the full card for that show, but that guy's pockets are so deep, you never really know. For the heck of it, he might decide to put a bid in for this fight. Add it to the show. You never really know.
Until you know.
But what I'm getting from all of this, the impression, is that Sam obviously isn't satisfied with what they're offering. He thinks he can get at more money, and if nothing else, if by some off chance No Limit Promotions were to win the purse bid, he would bring Inoue to Australia, where he would have home field advantage. Maybe that's what they're after. They want to give their man the best opportunity, the best chance to win this fight, because in Japan,
it ain't looking good.
but the purse bid is a ways out, something like 2 weeks. So between now and then, the Inoue people still have time to up the ante, up the offer, to get Sam Goodman to play ball so they can call this whole thing off. And that might happen. It's happened before with other fights, other situations.
Purse bid gets ordered, the two teams still negotiate while they wait for the purse bid to come around, and a deal is reached. They agree on a number, purse bid gets called off.
That might happen to save the date, preserve Inoue's schedule. They want him to fight one more time before this year is out, on New Year's Eve. To ensure that, they might offer Sam more money.
So Sam's got their balls in a vice?
He's got a bit of leverage, a bit, that if they don't want to sacrifice the IBF title and they don't want to reschedule Inoue's next fight, they've got to offer him something better.
Something more.
It'll be 2 weeks before the 29th gets here, and we'll see if Inoue's team can't sort this situation out and stay the course, stay on schedule. And finally, elsewhere in the world of boxing, doping and anti-doping expert Victor Conte said, let's summarize the recent update on Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. Ryan announces he's in training for a rematch with Devin. Devin says, okay, let's do VADA testing starting within 48 hours. Ryan says no to Devin's offer for both of them to provide anti-doping leadership for boxing. Why?
Because he's doping!
Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder jointly could see that, so why can't so many boxing fans see Ryan for what he is? A cheater.
The guy who goes by the name Mansfield Lance responded to Victor by saying, why does it matter to you, you effing dope?
So you're more focused on the messenger than the message. That who is Victor Conte to be asking these questions, even if the questions are valid, because that's exactly how it happened. Ryan said via his TikTok account he's in training for a Devin Haney rematch. Bill responded by suggesting he should start anti-doping testing within the next 48 hours, and Ryan reneged. Ryan backed off.
Does that strike you as something a clean fighter would do? Does that strike you as something an innocent man would do?
The implication is that during the off-season, in between fights, before a fight is signed, when one fight ends and before another begins, that's when the fighters are juicing because they're not being tested. VADA has not been contracted.
There's no anti-doping testing going on.
So the fighters are free to juice themselves to the gills in the hope that by the time a contract is signed and an official fight camp begins, they will have already received the benefit of those banned substances. That's the implication, and that's very much what I think is going on here. Ryan is juicing in between fights, in between when one fight ends and another fight is signed.
But here's the thing.
The people that support Ryan don't care if he's juicing. They don't care if he's cheating. As far as they're concerned, it's perfectly okay. They've worked it out to where it doesn't bother them if he's using performance-enhancing drugs to gain a competitive edge. They've worked it out in their own minds.
Victor's singing to the choir with this appeal to virtue, appeal to truth.
They already know what the truth is. They can see it just as well as I or you. They're just arguing in bad faith.
Let it be some other fighter under the exact same circumstances testing positive for the exact same drug. They're not going to be as understanding.
Other fighters have. Do you think that Ryan Garcia is the first fighter that tested positive for Osterin? Amir Khan tested positive for Osterin. Alexander Povetkin before that.
Do you think they went up to bat for them?
Oh, do you think they were even paying attention? They weren't. They've already worked it out in their own minds to where no matter what comes out and no matter what happens, they're gonna back Ryan because it's not about right and wrong to them.
Then what is it about?
Bocho solidarity. Bocho tribalism.
Ryan is a Jono Sabo, so are a lot of his supporters.
It's a mixture of Ryan Garcia supporters and closet Gervonta Davis fans that are only supporting Ryan because Gervonta beat him. So it's a nice feather in Gervonta's cap that he beat the guy that quote-unquote beat Devin, even if he needed peds to do it.
They don't care.
This is a morally ambiguous era of boxing because it used to be that if something like this came out, the boxer's reputation was tarnished, people would step away from him. Though in recent years, as anti-doping testing has been ramped up and normalized in the sport of boxing, so many boxers, high-profile boxers, testing positive for banned substances, it's to the point to where the boxing fans don't even know if they should be outraged anymore. And at this point, with this guy, they're not.
They don't care. It's not about right and wrong anymore.
Another method that Ryan Garcia has endeared himself to these individuals that back him is his open bigotry, his open racism. The racist tirade that he went on, that made him some fans and lost him some others.
But that is what holds some of these people to Ryan Garcia, that he's a bigot, and he was open about it.
He didn't care, and neither do they. These are the times that we are living in, folks. Morally ambiguous times? Strange.
It's not the point.
Victor Conte, regularly taking to social media to paint Ryan in a negative light, to shed a light of truth on what's going on, it's falling on deaf ears. That's saying that if what you're trying to do is make him seem guilty, the people that support him already know he's guilty. The people that support him and the people that don't.
It's not hard to put together.
Don't need to be Sherlock Holmes to figure out this guy's doping. It's obvious that he's doping. You're fighting in a different arena now, where morality and sportsmanship and what is good for sport is not the compass anymore. It's not the guide.
And it's not what the fighters and their supporters aspire to.
That's why so many of them argue in bad faith with these cockamamie arguments that it wasn't the Osterin that won Ryan the fight, but then why was it there?
Why did his story change so many times?
You said you were training for a Devin Haney rematch, so why did you back off as soon as anti-doping testing was mentioned?
Come on.
At this point, what his supporters want is for guys like me and you who look at Ryan in a negative light to look at him in the same light they do. They want us to overlook that. Some of us won't. Yeah, I think Devin is acting like a little bitch.
Pussy fart.
But that doesn't mean I like Ryan. I don't think Ryan can beat Devin unless he bends the rules.
Ryan is not a good fighter.
The only way he wins is if he gets to blow the weight and he comes in juiced to the gills. That's the only way.